Labor Day weekend, everybody. I wasn't sure we were going to make it. Hurricane Ida making her presence known in our area. I wasn't sure if the trails that I was planning to go to were even going to be open, but I called the district forest office and checked with the rangers there, and they said there might be more water than usual, but otherwise it shouldn't be a problem. So I am heading out to do a 3-day hike on the Thunder Swamp Trail up in the Poconos. I've been looking at this one for a while. It's not one that people who have hiked it say is very interesting, but I like that it's an 18-mile loop. I like that there are a couple of good water crossing or water areas, water sources with decent camping. And I like that it's flat. So this is kind of a test run to make sure I've got the endurance to do our Maryland trip, which is why I was really hoping I was going to be able to get out here. So I'm glad to be able to do that. A couple of new things this time around. I've got a new pair of boots as promised in my last video. I've got a pair of Merrell MGQ Flexes, or MQM Flexes. I've been wearing them at work all week. They seem pretty good, so we're going to test them out on the trail. I did get a new pair of trekking poles, so I got the Cascade Mountain Tech cork handled trekking poles. Not my usual purple, that's all they had. Of course, when I got them, one of the straps was installed backwards, so I may end up with the same problem with these that I had with the others, but we'll worry about that later. I also figured out a nifty trick. Actually, I got to credit this one to Deb. I get my first day lunches at Wawa's, but they come in these clamshell boxes, which I don't like to drag into the woods because then I've got to carry them out and they take up a lot of space. She said, well, why don't you just get a sheet of the sandwich wrap paper? So I did, and there's my lunch. So that and a bag of chips, and I'm all ready to hit the trail. So it's about a 2-hour drive. Sun's coming up, sky looks beautiful. It's not supposed to rain much. We've got a 30% chance of rain tomorrow evening, so we'll see if that holds out. But I've got everything I need if it does, so let's go see what this trail looks like. Alright, so this is what we're doing today. This is the Thunder Swamp Trail. As you can see here, part of the Delaware State Forest. This trail was built by the Youth Conservation Corps back in the 70s and is not one of the more highly traveled larger loop trails here in the state. Like I said, it doesn't get a lot of respect because it is flat and it is through a swamp, so people complain about it not having a lot of views. But I'm looking forward to checking it out. We're in the eastern Pocono region. Our family camping area is actually just off to the north here. Delaware Water Gap is literally about a mile off to the east here, so it's not a bad location. This is the loop I'm going to be doing. I'm parked here, which, well, actually I'm parked a little bit further south here. This little yellow spur is going to take me up. I did check out the actual area here. There is a road in there, but there's not any parking. It looks like it's probably meant to be an ATV access. So I'm parked a little bit further south, and I'm going to walk this 0.1 up to the trail and then come around here. I'm not going to go up and do the north loop. I may save that for another shorter trip time. So I'm going to come up here to Lake Minisink, come down the trail here. This is going to be our first camping area here on the Saw Creek Pond. There's a creek that comes right in here, and there's supposedly a lot of good camping here. So that'll be day one. This is about 7.5 miles to get down here. Then the next day we're going to cross over the main road here, come on up, and I believe my intended camping area is right around here. Again, there's another creek that comes through here, so, and supposedly there's a lot of camping in there, so that'll be day two. That's about 5.5 miles to get here, and then on Monday it's 4 miles to get back to the car. So I'm gonna get geared up and we'll get this started. Rangers warned me that I'd be seeing more standing water than is usually on this trail. And like a fool, I'm picturing puddles here and there. Completely forgetting the lessons we learned when we did the trail. I don't even remember what the name of it was. The one down near Lehigh that Nikki and I did, that we ended up wading through half of it. So the nice thing is the new boots are Gore-Tex. So as long as I don't go in water so deep that it goes up over the top, my feet will stay dry. If it does go over the top, my feet will be wet for the rest of the trip. So we're going to do everything we can to avoid that. And so far so good. Nothing got in. I get this weird cold sensation when I go through water, and my brain goes, oh no, water's getting in. But it's not. It's just the temperature difference between the water and my boots. And it feels cool, so I think water's getting in, but it's not. So everything's going well. We are half an hour in. Probably less than half a mile. Although it's a pretty well-groomed trail aside from the water. I think a lot of this is shared use trail, so it's designed for ATVs and or snowmobiles to be able to go through too. So I'm not expecting a whole lot of challenge on this trail, but that was the point. So I'm going to keep going and we'll see what's up around the corner. So let me tell you a story about how this hike almost just ended. That bridge looked like a nice little bridge, didn't it? That bridge did not go halfway across the water. I'm sure when the water levels are lower, it exposes a very nice stone wall that you could see all this water pouring over the top of. Fortunately for me, that group that started out from my same parking lot about 15 minutes before I did had just gone across this, and they very kindly waited, and one of the gentlemen actually carried my pack across for me and gave me tips on where to put my feet. Yeah, I don't think I would have gotten across that without their help. So the trail provides, but I hope that's the worst crossing I have, or this is going to be a real short trip. can't tell where the trail is. Okay, the first thing I have to do is get across this creek. And fortunately, the best way I've found is that. And it looks slippery. So I have extended my trekking poles to their full length. I have detached my straps so if I fall in, I can ditch my pack easily. Yeah, okay, let's see if I can do this. Not gonna lie, I feel a little bit like a rock star right now. Alright, now I gotta bushwhack and find my way back to the trail, because I don't see markings for it anywhere. Alright. 2 different GPS tracks say that I am on the trail. There is no trail here. I cannot see a footpath. I cannot see blazes, nothing. But both my Gaia app and All Trails are telling me I'm on the trail. So I think all I can do is follow the GPS track until I run into the trail at some point. That's not scary at all. Found it, finally. That was a ridiculous amount of wandering around lost in the woods. I am backtracking to see where it was supposed to go. And if I find out I wasn't supposed to cross that creek, I'm going to be really unhappy. Yeah, I don't need to know that badly. All right, let's get back on this hike. I'm getting a little worried about my rescuers because they were quite a bit ahead of me, and especially since I got lost at that last river crossing, I was sure they'd be ages ahead of me. But I'm doing a lot of silk blazing, and not just single strands of spider webs, but full webs with wrapped up bugs caught in them. So I'm hoping they didn't take a wrong turn somewhere and end up more lost in the woods than I was. I'm getting to the top of this hill, and then I'm going to look for a place for lunch. report. For the most part, I'm liking them quite a bit. They are snug without being too tight. There is a little bit of movement in them, which may or may not be an issue. But one of the things I really like about them is these loops here are elastic, so that when you have them cinched up, if your feet swell up, they adjust the tension on the laces. So I get pains in the top of my feet a lot, and this is really seems to be helping with that. I don't have the same issues that I normally do. One issue I do have, you can see they're kind of narrow across here. A lot of the comments online about these boots was that they were complaints that they had a small toe box. I am in general not having an issue with that. There's plenty of room in the tip for me to slide forward without banging my toes on the front of the boot. The problem I do have is on this foot. Let me show you. I have quite a substantial bunion. And that is kind of hard to fit into any boot unless I were to buy two different size boots. And since you buy boots in pairs and not single, I'm not paying $150 each for two separate pairs of boots, one pair of which I will never be able to wear. So we're making do with what we have. I am getting, it looks like there's a little bit of a blister forming right here and maybe right here. So I've got my Leuco tape that I'm going to put over that to try and protect it and keep that down. This one, it may already be too late because that's kind of feeling squishy, but we will see what we can do. I'm also not sure if I got water in my boots or not. When I heard people say Gore-Tex boots are fine unless you get water over the top, I was thinking over the top here. It never occurred to me that these spaces here might let water in. And the first time I went this high deep into one of those puddles, everything felt cold. I couldn't tell if it felt wet or not. So I've got my socks over here airing out, but they don't feel wet. They feel damp, but that's what I would expect from hiking, just sweating. So I'm still not sure if I got water in my boots or not. So I'm going to do my bit of first aid here. I've kind of been sitting for 15-20 minutes with my feet up and having my lunch and just chilling out. I do still have 3 to 4 miles to go, and if I'm doing a mile an hour, that's going to get me to camp between 6 and 7, which makes me a little nervous because I'm not sure when sunset is. It's the one thing I forgot to check when I checked the weather. Actually, I do have signal here, so I'll go in and check that right now. So I think I'm at just under 4 miles right now. I'm going to start looking for a campsite around mile 6. And the first decent place I come to, I'm going to take it. It'll mean a slightly longer day tomorrow, but that's okay because tomorrow was going to be a fairly short day anyways. I was only doing 5.5 tomorrow. So, and then if I have to cut that short, my last day was only going to be 4 miles. Again, I can add a couple miles to that and still be within my tolerances. So let me get this first aid done and get my boots back on and we'll get back on the trail. huzzah! In a little over 5.25 miles, I have hit a road. No rocks. Of course, it's going uphill, but that's okay. I walked through so many spider webs that my glasses were literally webbed to my head. And it wasn't just running into the spider webs, but I was always running into them at the level that the spider was at. So all of a sudden there'd be a spider right on my eye. I'm sure they're all going to come hunting me tonight. Yeah, spider's not my favorite thing. All right, so it looks like this is going to be a road walk for a little bit, which I'm grateful for. So if we're at 5.25 miles, the campsites I'm looking for are at mile 7. So depending on how long this road walk is, I might actually make it to those. It is currently 3:30, so I gotta go 2 more miles, which I'm on track. I'm doing close to 1 mile an hour. So let's see if I get there by 6 o'clock. All right, that's a reasonable goal, right? Because I should probably take a sit down somewhere. All right, I'm going to enjoy this road walk for a little bit. So I'm not sure whether to be horrified or not by the logging remains that we're seeing here. Those huge stacks of trees have obviously been sitting there for a while because there's stuff growing up over top of them. And the forest, quote unquote, to the left of me is just not clear cut, but certainly sparse. So I'm hoping that there's some BS like the wood has to be field cured or something like that, and they're going to come back and get it, because if it just sits there and rots, that's just such a waste. And in case you can't see it on the video because it's a little foggy from all the humidity, there's a lot of mosquitoes around here. And even though I put my picaridin lotion on, that's keeping most of them away, but there are a couple of opportunists who are willing to taste just about anything. So, all right, onward. So I sat down on this blowdown to swing my other leg over, and I still haven't stood up. So I guess I'm having an impromptu butt break. It's a good thing anyway. I'm really bad about snacking while walking, which I need to do or my energy gets too low and I get nauseous and then don't want to eat. But on Pennsylvania rocks, it's really hard to do because you've got to be paying attention to every step, and I really need to use both trekking poles. Even when I put the camera in one hand and the trekking poles in the other, the two trekking poles in the other, it's just not as stable as having both of them. So I'm doing pretty well. You can hear the Saw Creek in the background. It's beautiful. I'm about half a mile or so from the bridge, and somewhere around the bridge is where I'm going to camp tonight. So it's 4:30, almost there. This is not trail maintenance. So that last half mile was the longest Pennsylvania mile I've ever hiked. Because yes, it was a mile. It was all rocks. And some of the worst rocks I've done in Pennsylvania. So that was very slow going. It took me an hour and a half to get through that 1 mile. I did pass my rescuers. They have a campsite probably about a 1/4 mile back up the trail that way. And I started going across the bridge. I have a lovely view of the bridge. I started going over the bridge to see what was over there, and it looks like more rocks. And I decided, no, I'm just gonna make a stealth site here. And I turned around on the bridge, and here was this fire ring. So this is my home for the night. I don't know how much I'm going to do tonight. It is 10 after 6. I've got the hammock up and the tarp up. I think I may need to lift the tarp up a little bit. It looks like it might be kind of low. But I'll stake it out and see how that looks. I've got to get the quilts in. Get my water sorted. Water is not a problem, except getting close enough to dip it out. I don't know if you can see. There's the... So it's moving fast. And it goes down a little bit. And then 2 other creeks come together and join that. And keep on going that way. And I think not too much further down, you start hitting all the Pocono's development along Saw Creek, because that's what this is. This is Saw Creek. And if you live in the Pennsylvania area and you've ever driven up 209 along the Delaware River area, you've probably seen lots of signs for the Saw Creek Resort and Saw Creek condominiums and Saw Creek this and Saw Creek that. So that's this, but it's a little more wild here. So I did 8¼ miles today. Like I said, I got in at 6, so that was 9 hours, which is a little slower than I would have liked, but again, given the terrain, I wasn't going any faster, and thank goodness I had that 1.5 miles, 2 miles of road walk, except for the mosquitoes, because that helped me pick up my pace. I don't know where I would be if I'd had another 2 miles of the rocks. So I'm gonna get my water, finish setting up camp, think about making dinner, and I'll check back with you later. Lots of tannin in that water. Dinner tonight is a new company and a new recipe. It's Packet Gourmet, which I see a lot of hikers recommending. And this is a shepherd's cottage pie. So it's beef and veggies and all kinds of good stuff. There's a little bouillon packet that goes in it. And then it has cheddar mashed potatoes to go on top. So the water's just about boiling, and we'll put this all together and see how it looks. Not too bad. Mashed potatoes look pretty good. Now we dump the mashed potatoes. Ooh, hard to do one-handed. In on top of the food. And there we go. That doesn't look too shabby. Not bad. Trying to decide if it needs a little salt, but otherwise, tastes pretty good. Good morning. So, we seem to have gotten a little bit of rain very early. Well, no, I was up at 3. So, probably around 5 or 6. We got a little bit of sprinkles. Not a lot. I don't see anything on the tarp, just a couple of drops here and there. But still, I'm glad I put everything under the tarp except for my chair. I'm trying to get the motivation to get out of here and get breakfast going. Again, not a long day today, but if it's rocks, I want to give it a chance to dry out a little bit. I'm still having the same issue of not being able to sleep. I was in my hammock by 8, but I didn't get to sleep until almost 1, and then I was up at 3. And I think I was up again at 5, maybe. That's the only thing I don't like about backpacking. Is if I could sleep, I think I'd enjoy it more. But since I can't sleep, I get uncomfortable. Everything, my back gets stiff hanging out in the hammock when I'm not asleep. Because when you're asleep, everything relaxes. But when you're awake, you're still pretty stiff. I've been thinking about getting a tent and see if I sleep any better in a tent. But I've had a hard time finding a place to set up a tent. So, oh well. Those are problems for another day. Today, my problems are getting up, making breakfast, packing up, and hiking 6 miles. You don't want to. I guess I got a little more rain than I thought I did. Oh well. Alright, everything's packed up. I got my water. I have to turn my spot device back on. But I'll do that before I put my pack on this time. And everything's good to go. So today we are camped right, hard to do one-handed, right at this bend here. And so now we're gonna follow this line over here, all the way up here, past this parking space, and to that bridge area on Spruce Run. Now, according to this, that's about 6 miles. So a little further than my apps were telling me, but there's a reason people call it All Lies instead of All Trails. Still, 6 miles. I did 8 yesterday. I should be able to do 6 today. If not, I've got a couple of bailout points. I'm gonna check the weather when I get to this parking area. I'm pretty sure I'll have signal there. And if I have any issues, I will get off up at the Snow Hill parking area and try and hitch a ride back to the car. But I'm fairly optimistic. Then I usually am stupidly optimistic. The skies are very gray. So I think that 30% chance of rain has gone up substantially. We'll see how much substantially. So according to this, I've got 1.2 miles to the first parking area. That's the trailhead. That'll be nice. I can ditch some trash. There'll probably be a porta potty. And I should have cell signal because I did when I was coming in. So we will get loaded up and hit the trail. Not 5 minutes in, and I had to stop and put my rain gear on. No idea how long this is going to last. I passed a very nice gentleman who was out walking this way. He apparently used to fish in the area where I was camping, so he was just coming out to see what the damage was. He said that river crossing, that bridge there, used to be a log with a plank railing. We both agreed that this was a big improvement, especially since it survived whatever flooding they had here. So he gave me trail wisdom up to the parking lot, which he said was the usual rocky, some standing water, but now big water crossings. So I'm gonna knuckle down. Oh, here's the first one. So when I was researching this trail, I watched a video of a young man who started the same place I did and hiked to the same campsite I did, or at least to the bridge. And at that point, he quit. I've never seen anyone rage quit a trail before, but that's exactly what he did. He started swearing up and down at the trail and called his girlfriend to come pick him up at the parking lot here and went home. And at the time, I thought he was being kind of a diva. I mean, yeah, there's not a lot of great vistas and overlooks, but there's some pretty spots. And he had a beautiful fall day. Today I empathize with him, and I am following in his footsteps. Not just because it's raining, and the forecast has apparently changed, so it's going to rain all day. I am getting hot spots on my left foot now, which I don't normally get. As you can see, my glasses keep fogging up because of the humidity, which is not good, because I can't see where I'm putting my feet, and with these rocks, I have to see where I'm putting my feet. I don't feel too bad about this decision, because my Russian rescuers are also bailing here. So I'm gonna go see if I can hitch a ride back to my car. My Russian rescuers are coming through for me again. Like I said, they decided they're gonna bail as well. And they have a friend who's coming to pick them up, and they offered to give me a ride back as well. So, which is good because I wasn't having any luck hitchhiking. So, I don't know, there's not much else to say. I guess I'll check in one more time when I get back to the car. The trail provides. The gentleman that I had met earlier, who was telling me about the trail conditioned, gave Sasha, my Russian rescuer, a ride back to his car, and he came back and in paying it forward, gave me a ride back to my car before going and picking up his friends and heading back to Brooklyn. So Sasha and all the rest of your group, thank you very much. This one, as usual, was not the hike I had anticipated. The weather forecast says it's going to be like this all day today and tomorrow. So I'm out. Not sure what, well, I'm absolutely 100% sure what my next trip is. Next weekend is not a hike. Next weekend, I'm taking Crow and their boyfriend to the Philadelphia Tattoo Convention. And there may or may not be video of that, especially if those two decide to get tattoos. Or if I decide to get a tattoo. We'll see what happens. And then the week after that is the Maryland hike. I didn't get to prove what I wanted to prove with this trip. I really wanted to prove that I could do multiple days in a row. I did prove that you can't break in a pair of hiking boots just wearing them to work, even a physical job, a couple of days. So I'm not sure if I'll be wearing these boots on that trip, or a mix of my Merrells and these boots, or a mix of my Merrells and these boots and some trail runners I have. But I'm going to give it a shot. And Deb, if I can't make it through the whole thing, I'm very, very sorry, and thank you for your patience. But for now, I'm going to get out of this rain. I think I'm going to go find some hot food, because I don't have any dry clothes. But one way or another, I'm going home. I'll see you next time, everybody.